Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just click the link in the show description to support now.
You're locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke Loves Rasslin.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Welcome back to Duke Loves Rasslin, the show about pro wrestling and everything else. And don't worry, folks, you don't have to ask for it anymore, okay? This entire episode is going to be about what's going on in pro wrestling today. So not just a standard interview like I've been doing or interview special. It's going to be a great conversation about modern wrestling, AEW, WWE, all the nuts and bolts here, and just my thoughts on the latest goings on with our man, one of our favorites here, Stix, Ken Stix Ray. So that's coming up here, and then, other than that, be kind to yourselves and be kind to others, because literally everything that you want to hear and that you want to know is in this conversation. So here we are with Stix, and then Tony Schiavone will be taking us out. Enjoy. Okay, so, folks, you have requested that this guy come back. And I know the last time he was on the show, he read me the riot act. So hopefully I'm back on his good side here, because, man, he really laid into me. Maybe that's why everybody enjoyed the last time he was on so much, is because he laid into me so much. I don't know here. But without further ado, welcome back to the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast. Legitimately one of my favorite guests of all time. The man, the myth, the legend, known as Stix. What's going on there, Stix?
Dukemus Maximus! Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so glad I had time in my busy booty dollar schedule / workout schedule to join you once again. How can I be of service to you today?
Well, first and foremost, what's this talk of strippers bringing you bacon? I mean, I want to know, how did you get so lucky?
Yeah,
like, how did you get into this whole strippers delivering bacon to you stuff?
So, one night last week, one of the girls had gone to, I don't know, can we say names of stores, or do we have to make them up?
You can say whatever you want. This is Duke Loves Rasslin.
Okay, all right. So she had gone to Dunkin' Donuts to procure some food for herself, and she had asked for extra bacon. And I guess they were ribbing her, so they gave her like a whole bag full of bacon, right? And it's like I'm in the DJ booth, which is above everybody, which I love, because I can see the whole club, as it should be. I am above everybody, but that's besides the point. So this beautiful girl says to me, "Stix, you want some bacon?" And I said, "Is that a trick question?" She said, "No, I got a bag full of bacon. You want it?" And I said, "Yeah." So she comes upstairs to the DJ booth in a very pretty pink G-string and hands me a bag full of bacon. That's my life, man. And then at the end of the night, she tips me 10%.
Wow. This is just incredible. I mean, clearly, not only are you a person who is totally not against eating bacon, but you're not against eating bacon from G-string. So this is an interesting revelation here, Stix.
It didn't come from the G-string. Let me just clarify. She just had a G-string on when she brought it to me. But you have to appreciate the whole
because it sounds like it came from the G-string. I just want to make sure we're clear on this, Stix. I don't want any confusion out there.
No G-string bacon, because my girlfriend's probably listening, so she's going to be upset. But the visual is nice. You know what I'm saying? Pretty girl in a G-string bringing you a bag full of bacon. I feel like that's every man's dream fantasy, and I live it on a regular basis. So I'm better than most people.
So is your girlfriend okay with the fact that you're always hanging out with these scantily clad, if clad at all, women who bring you bacon and pay you? Like, is this like a thing that she's comfortable with?
I don't know if she's comfortable. I know she likes the money. And I know she likes me. I don't know what she doesn't seem to really mind that much, as long as, they mind their business. I'm good,
Well, so that's just one tiny aspect of your incredible life. the other side of it is you get to hang out with all these wrestlers, again, scantily clad people, including these women here who just love Stix. So you had a whirlwind weekend this past weekend in which you were all over the place commentating here, there, and everywhere. So why don't you tell me a little bit about that? I mean, especially 2 shows in particular that were pretty hot. What happened?
So, Matt, the young professor, and I had a chance to once again call for Ignite Wrestling down in Vero Beach. Kim Artlip is the promoter, proprietor, and owner of said promotion. And we did it again at Walking Tree Brewery in Vero Beach. It's a wonderful location. They let us use, whenever we decide we want to have a show, a bunch of wrestlers beating each other up. And of course, myself and the young professor calling all the action, which you can hear on YouTube as they slowly get released. I think each and every day we're releasing at least one match. So it'll be interesting to see. You can follow Ignite Wrestling on all social media platforms, but make sure you subscribe to that YouTube channel each night at 7:00 for the next week or so. We're going to be releasing those matches. And I got to work with the president. He calls himself the president of wrestling. I don't know who voted for him to be the president of wrestling. I don't know where the selection was. I think it was erroneous, if I do say so myself. But Phil Stamper also joins in on the commentary here once in a while. They did dual ring announcer duties, so I gotta give my boy credit for showing up and showing out. I can't say that he's as good as me, but then again, no one is. Ignite Wrestling did what Ignite Wrestling does, and that's burn up the southeast coast of Florida again with an incredible show. You got Sage Scott and Marquise, Dante Marquise Carter in a match with a triple threat, where they took the third participant of the match and used him as a dart and threw him into a dartboard on the outside of the ring, which I thought was incredible. You can see that on YouTube. Sage Scott, I think, always delivers. And then you got that classic tag team against a crazy, crazy head-banging crew. And Kiko Harris, of course, delivers a perfect drop kick. But you can see all of that, like I said, on the YouTube channel of Ignite Wrestling. The whole crew was great. I was also incredible and sweaty, but that's Florida for you because we live on the sun, as it were. And then Sunday, we drove to and from Atlanta to do Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment. They had their sort of relaunch, their Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment Loud Chapter 1 at the El Galaxy Sports Bar in Atlanta, Georgia. It was a great show. I got to do some behind-the-scenes production work because that's where I started my journey in entertainment as a producer of a radio show. So that's been my background sort of my whole life. And, they always put on a top-notch show. And there's a rumor that I might be moving up in the world, moving up on the card, as it were, brother. But we'll see. I can't divulge too much because the ink isn't dry. But it was a crazy weekend. It was a two and a quarter days of driving and moving and going here and going there and all that crazy stuff that you do in the car. So much of wrestling, making it in wrestling is making towns and driving and stopping at Wawa's and eating in the middle of the night and hoping you get enough sleep to function and drinking 4 bangs a day or whatever it is. But that's what this is. That's the work. That's the work of wrestling. So many people think it's so glamorous and we do all these shows and get to do all this cool stuff. But the fun part is really in the car.
Well, I'll tell you, man, you're living a life that is just completely foreign to me. I don't get it. I don't get where you find, like you said, 4 bangs a day. So I guess that's where the energy is coming from. But it's really interesting just to watch your journey, Stick, and to see you continue to grow and progress and get all these great opportunities. I mean, from G-string bacon at strip clubs to commentating at Ignite Wrestling and down in Atlanta as well. It's like, Jesus, you're living the life of a rock star over there. It's crazy.
I am a rock star, man. I'm a bona fide rock star. I am the dirtiest player with a cane. You know how it is.
Well, speaking of which, you've been giving me a hard time a lot lately online, which is not anything.
Let's face it, you deserve it. You deserve it, man. You deserve it.
It's really getting kind of out of hand. I want to know what's going on with you in AEW because I feel like at some point Billionaire Tony got to you, and I don't know if it was threats or if it was money or if it was the promise of more strippers and bacon, but something's going on where it just seems like you're making more and more excuses for their tomfoolery over there. I want you to be straight with me here, Stix. Did AEW and Billionaire Tony, did they get to you, and that's why you've been acting differently?
You know, Duke, why are you always going to put me on the spot like this, man? I plead the fifth. In the words of Dave Chappelle, I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. I'm not going to confirm nor deny any of your felonious rumors, but I will say you're a little too hard on AEW. I feel like you're a little too hard on them. I know when they started as a company, you said you were going to hold them accountable, but I feel like you are on the other side of the spectrum. I feel like you and Vince are a little too tight. I feel like Vince might be sending you a little stipend for your little show, and you got to say what you got to say to keep the old man happy. But I'm going to keep you honest, as it were, sir. So you ask me any questions you want, I'm going to give you an honest answer. You know that.
Well, I mean, we all know that WWE and they're no friends of mine. They certainly are antagonized by me through the years, and that's why they've made so many threats and what have you. But come on,
I feel like you play with them kid. Sometimes you play WWE with little kid gloves. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
you're a little hard. You're a little more hard on the. You're a little more stern on the new kid. You're a little more stern on the new kid in class, but you're a little nicer to the incumbent, as it were. But that's okay. That's okay.
Stix, you've been around far too long to talk this nonsense. Now, and again, you be straight with everybody. This is Duke Loves Rasslin. It's not one of these little rinky-dink podcasts that you think you can come on and get away with saying something crazy, Stix. We can hold you accountable on this one here, brother. You
know me better than that. When's the last time I've done anything that was rinky-dink? Okay,
you make things better, including this show. I'll give you credit there. But that if anybody Googles Duke Loves Rasslin, they're going to find all the articles and all the past episodes of WWE being called out for sexism and racism and CTE. These are real life issues that WWE has been very upset with me over exposing them on and having people come on the show, because it's not me talking. I actually have had the wrestlers who had these experiences who during their time in WWE come on the show and express themselves. So it's not as if WWE they've gotten it 10 times worse than anything I've ever said about AEW. That's a fact. And it's not my opinion. It's proven. Just just listen to the record or read the record. There's no question about that.
And so, is that strictly because of longevity, or is that because, you're actually holding them accountable? I think what you're saying is true. I'm not going to debate that. Like you said, you can go back in the archives and listen to every episode of Duke Loves Rasslin, and I think you should. I think you should like and subscribe, and every time there's a new episode, Spotify lets me know, and guess what I do? I'm driving down the road, and I hear your sultry voice talking about wrestling every week. That's what we do. But let's be fair. You've been a little hard on AEW, and I feel as a member of the wrestling community, because I'm not just a fan anymore. I'm not just a Mark boy anymore. I don't buy tickets anymore. I'm working in the business. I feel like I got to call you on the carpet sometimes because I feel like you just make stuff up.
So hold on a second, because we have a prime example of the thing that I talk about that AEW continues to fall short on every single solitary week. And even when they come close to hitting the mark, they still miss. Last night, AEW had the biggest show they ever had in their history, right? And this is on AEW Dynamite.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So this is their number one. This is their flagship show. Forget about the pay-per-views. This is the show that generates the most money from them because this is what they have their TV deal on. And this is where more people watch than anywhere else. Their pay-per-views, I mean, their record was like 200,000 buys. Well, they pop 1 million viewers allegedly on every now and then. And I think last night, definitely they must have hit at least that much. I'm sure they had more people watch, but Nielsen ratings, they're false and inaccurate anyway. That's another story. But anyway,
I agree with that 100%.
So you notice how I just put AEW over by saying that more people watch than what they get credit for, right? So look at that. I'm putting them over and you didn't even realize that. But let me keep going here. Last night, and mind you, this is Hispanic Heritage Month, mind you, right? Last night on AEW Dynamite, 2 straight hours of live television, not a single solitary Hispanic person performed. And on top of that, not a single solitary black person performed. So they literally proved exactly what I've been complaining about since day one. They lack equitable diversity. At a time where they could have put their best foot forward, they took the color and they literally separated it from the whites. Okay,
No,
it was
wait a
like they were
second.
doing laundry here, right?
Wait a second. Let me back up because you didn't watch the whole show. Let's be real. Because on Twitter, you were rolling your eyes and shaking your head, and I said, what now? And you said, oh, they lost my interest. I'm watching the Wonder Years. True or false?
That's true, but you got to know something here, Stix.
Well,
the Wonder Years was only for a half hour. I watched the rest of the show once the Wonder Years was done.
Well, hold on. Did you see Brandy Rhodes out there giving Malachi Black the middle fingers?
Did Brandy Rose wrestle?
Nah, she was there though.
Did she wrestle?
No.
Did Brandy Rose wrestle?
No.
So then what are you doing bringing up Brandy Rose giving middle fingers if she didn't wrestle on the card? Everything that I said is the truth. Everything that I said is the truth. She did not wrestle, Stix. She wasn't booked.
You're not wrong. I'm just giving you the business. You're not wrong. I'm just giving you the business.
I appreciate you challenging me on this because this is a very important conversation to have. So when they have their biggest event, what do? They give us the least amount of women's content, even though it was in the main event. And kudos for having a women's main event. Those are rare on their television show. But at least they had a women's main event. But that was it. We didn't get any more women's matches, just that. And it was like like I said, they separated the whites from the colors, right? It was like they were doing laundry. They didn't want any color to bleed over. So they made sure they didn't book any brown, any black. I don't even think they booked Asian either. It was what? It was a snowstorm, right?
Yeah, literally, because Sting came out, so it snowed a little bit in New York.
It was a snowstorm. It was an embarrassment, and it was a prime example of the stuff that I talk about every single week. So tell me how I'm being too harsh on them, Stix, when the proof is in the pudding. They once again did the thing that I literally call them out about the most, because they claimed they would give us diversity and inclusion, and then they turn around in their biggest moment in the history of the company, and they give us everything but diversity and inclusion.
I do have to agree with you there. I think you could have done something. You got the angle with CM Punk and Will Hobbs right now, and I think Will Hobbs is a star. He's just not there yet. I think you could have done something in that promo segment. I think you could have had Red Velvet on the show, who's a girl that I've seen from almost day one in her career. At Go Wrestle in Daytona Beach and FEW down in Miami and, all over the place. I think you could, she's a star, 5 foot fine, sweeter than wine, straight out your mama's kitchen. That ain't no joke. Just look at her. And you got incredible talent.
What about the tag team? They got the tag team champs that they didn't even put on the biggest card that they ever had. I mean, this is embarrassing.
Yeah. You got the Young Bucks were there, but and then, you got the Lucha Brothers. I don't know why they didn't have a match last night. I think if you're going to have a tag match, why not have it be FTR against the Lucha Brothers? I'd pay to see that. I'd pay money to see that. That's another thing. I think yesterday's show was a good show. I'm not going to take anything away from what they did. And I don't know what they're doing on Friday. I don't pay attention to spoilers on purpose because I like to see things in the moment. And I don't know the structure of the show on Friday, but I bet you money the main event is probably going to be CM Punk and Will Hobbs.
No, I saw the card that's coming up for Friday. It's taped, by the way. And I can tell you right now, they put a whole bunch of color on Friday's card on their secondary show that continues to fail more than anything else that they have. They managed to put all the color on that show in the worst time slot that they have on television. So what exactly is the message that they're sending? When we want to do diversity, we do it when we have the least amount of people watching.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with it. And as a affluent white male, I'm gonna just say what it is. I live in a private gated community, and I'm a white male with a disability, so I'm extra privileged. Let's be real. I'm parked in a handicapped spot right now. But I like the diverse talent they have on the show. I do wish that they would showcase it more. I think you got a guy, like I said, Scorpio Sky is incredible. He's been doing this for almost 20 years now. you got a guy like Scorpio Sky, and you're gonna delegate him to your Friday show. Why would you not have that on a Dynamite? But again, did Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, I'm sorry, force a habit. Did Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega need 40 minutes? Did they need 2 full television segments and a break segment? Now, I know how to time out a television show. I know how to time out a radio show. You could have done that show, or you could have done that match in 25 minutes, and you could have had 2 other matches on the show. And you could have put some of that talent there. You could have put Scorpio Sky and All Ego, that tag match with God, what's their tag match, Duke? Help me out.
You're asking me to tell you tag matches for AEW? What?
That Friday, they're wrestling Friday, right?
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are.
My point is, you could have put that match on last night, where you had more viewers, where you had,
what is it, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus? Is that who they're supposed to be battling?
It's Jericho and Hager versus All Ego, Ethan Page, and Scorpio Sky. That'll put butts in seats. That'll put butts in seats. So let's put that on our worst time slot on the show that's failing the most out of anything else that we have going on. It's the one show that is losing its audience week after week at the highest rate. Let's make sure that we put the diversity on the show that fails the most, so that we can blame the failure on the diversity, because that's what's happening. Right? Do you think that's what they're doing? You really think that's what they're doing?
They proved it last night. When it's time to give the best possible foot that they can give forward, they showed you what they'll do. They'll give you the least amount of women's content. They'll give you zero diversity. They will put on a show that was literally a snowstorm. That's it.
I do think overall there are things they need to work on. Maybe that being one of them, obviously. Look, I understand where you're coming from, even though I don't have a right to understand where you're coming from as not, a man of color and living with that every day, each and every day, and trying to succeed in a world where, let's be real, it's been set up to fail. If you're a minority of any sort, you're supposed to just be quiet and mind your business and live mediocre lives. Like, yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've been told to sit on the couch and shut up and mind my business, and you're crazy, and the things you want will never happen for you because you are who you are and you live the way you live. So I can't even imagine how it is to be a person of color, or, a woman trying to make it in what is essentially a white man's world. Is it fair? No, it's not fair. But take it from me, man. Life ain't fair.
But I'll say this though, Stix. Despite life not being fair, there's not a day that you don't advocate for the things that should be right, and the things that should be afforded to you, because you're not asking for anything other than equality. It's not like you're asking to be given more than anybody, and that's the thing that I think people miss in what I bring up and what I talk about. Because here's the reality. SmackDown, for instance, which probably is the best wrestling show on television today. SmackDown, for the past 3 weeks, has not given us women's wrestling content. It has sucked. It has been embarrassing what they've done in terms of just completely being sexist, shutting the women out, not giving us women's wrestling matches. And
can we just take a second? I just want to say this real quick in regards to SmackDown. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
sure.
What they did to Bianca Belair at SummerSlam was disgusting.
It's disgusting. That's a whole other disgusting point.
What they did to her was ridiculous. She's an incredible talent, and she was dismissed as quickly as she gained her spot, and I think that's absolutely rude. But go ahead. I didn't mean to.
Well, here's my point in saying all this. We don't stop advocating for the things that we know is right, and what's right is this equity, the opportunity to have a fair and equal shot at becoming a star, just like the rest of your peers. And the problem is these men, and that's who they are, they're men who, for the most part, uphold white male dominant culture. So if you're a white straight male who is not disabled, chances are you're it. They want to put you out front above everybody else and feature you more than anybody else. And that's what we see. And that's not equitable and that's not fair because you have a whole roster full of colors and genders and sexualities. And you know, you do have some disabled people on staff. And I'm not going to out anybody because there are different forms of disability. It's not always just physical. But my point is, you can't have a situation where you want to benefit from being diverse, and yet your diversity is not equitable. You got to get called out for that. And I'm going to call everybody out that fails in that regard. And if some people feel I'm being unfair because AEW is the worst offender and that's why they get the most attention from me on that issue, then I'm okay with that. Because again, I got many more years of calling out WWE than anybody else. So, you know what I mean? So it's at the end of the day, AEW has a long way to go before they will even have half the criticism that I've already given to WWE. And WWE has improved on these issues at times, which is why SmackDown is such a disgrace to me, because they've taken too many steps back. Now, on the flip side, you have Raw, where we just had about 4 or 5 women's matches the other night. Now, think about that. On that 3-hour show, hour 2, for the 9 to 10 p.m. hour, we had an abundance of women's wrestling content. And it was no surprise that Raw was hugely successful, despite the fact that Monday Night Football was happening. So what does that tell you? It can be done and it can work. So, you know, AEW.
And here's hope. Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I feel like being AEW right now, being the new kid on the block, being the hot commodity, as it were, because they are the hottest ticket in town. If you look at any entertainment ticket purchases, they are the hottest ticket in town. They are up there with some of the most expensive concerts on the planet. And I'm not talking about, rinky-dink house bands either. I'm talking about big name bands in the secondary ticket market, which is what tickets are based off of. AEW is one of the most expensive tickets in the world right now. And that's because they're a hot product, right? But because you're the new product, because you're the hot product, you are under a microscope even more so than the incumbent WWE. And let's be fair, for the longest time, WWE was really the only game in town, right? I mean, you had Impact, you had, TNA, you had New Japan, but you had Ring of Honor, but they weren't on the same level. And I'm not saying that AEW is on WWE's level, but monetarily speaking, production-wise, they're pretty damn close. And the talent level right now is right up there because they're getting a lot of guys that were disenfranchised with the process over up north, But again, a lot of those guys are white guys, white girls. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's fact.
So what does that tell you? Because it's not as if the WWE doesn't have an abundance of people of color, male and female. And it's not like those people of color wouldn't want to go make more money elsewhere and work less. You know what I mean? So, but what does that tell you about AEW's focus? They are purposely doing this. They are purposely focused. Here's the thing that kills me right now, Stix. Meltzer and now WrestleNomics, which, Brandon Howard Thurston III, he's a guy who's been on the show. I have a lot of respect for him, but he is completely out of his mind right now. And I'm calling him out directly. You are upholding blatant racism right now, Brandon, whether that's on purpose or not. I'm not even sure at this point, but it's disgraceful what you're doing with WrestleNomics right now, because you keep quoting Nielsen numbers that have been proven to be inaccurate. And that's why they were stripped of their certification, because they completely undercount Black and brown households. So
Nielsen
the numbers are not right.
Nielsen ratings have been bogus for a long time.
But they were stripped of their certification. So this is a different, like they've reached a level where the TV industry sued them, and then whoever was in charge of their certification said, something, the TV industry is proven to be right. Nielsen is completely inaccurate, and more importantly, this shit that they're doing is completely racist. So yeah, we are stripping them of their certification until they change, and they haven't changed yet. So everything that's coming out from Nielsen continues to be wrong. It continues to be inaccurate. And the fact that these folks keep quoting like the key demo, they don't want to admit what they really mean by the key demo. They're talking about white guys. They're certainly not talking about Black and brown and Asian and others and what have you, because if they were to actually get the right numbers, the real numbers, and quote that, then AEW's key demo would clearly be a lot lower than what they're quoting. You know why? Because more than white males 18 to 34 exist. There are black males 18 to 34. There are Hispanic males 18 to 34. There are Asian males. There are others. There are, it's like Native males 18 to 34. So that would bring their numbers down, and that's a fact. But they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the fact that Nielsen has inaccurately measured those populations. And if you were to actually measure those populations the way that they touted and said that they would, it would bring AEW's key demo down so much that the value of that company would be far lower than what it is. People are valuing that company on numbers that are just completely false. And here's the other side of that. WWE's key demo would be through the roof even more, because guess what? People of color and women and populations other than white males 18 to 34 genuinely prefer WWE's programming. And you know why? Because there's something for everyone. So, we can't pretend like this isn't the reality of what's going on here.
And I'll say this too. I got a chance to see, if you go back and watch NXT 2.0, I think it was this week or the week before, you see DMC in a big match. Yeah, Dante Marquis Carter, who is an incredible talent, who's an African-American man. Some of the most incredible wrestlers I've seen in my last 3 years, in my near 200 shows, in my near 1,000 matches called, just to throw down some stats, have been black wrestlers, have been wrestlers of Hispanic descent, have been wrestlers of what we call minority. I don't like the word minority, but it is what it is. But, I mean, let's be real. Some of the most talented men and women in this business are people of different colors, which is why...
If you say that to Cody Rhodes, he'll say, well, where are they? Who are they? Are they TV ready? You got to
look outside Atlanta, brother. You got to look outside the Nightmare Factory. Let's be real. I mean, not to say there's anything wrong with that, because, Stunt Marshall trained over there, and Stunt Marshall is a superstar as far as I'm concerned.
So why isn't Stunt Marshall on AEW Dynamite? Why isn't he on TV? Isn't Stunt Marshall black?
He is.
Oh, no wonder he's not on TV. No wonder he's not on TV.
Best flat top in the business, best flat top in the business, man. Like,
no wonder he's not on TV. It could, imagine that, right?
It's a shame, because you see I see all my friends, and let's be real, it kind of irks me a little bit to see all my friends taking that obligatory photo either before the show in front of a semi truck or on the carpet. You know what I'm talking about. And you see them in a dark match or a prelim, but we both know that they're well beyond talented enough to carry a match on a main show.
Let me tell you something. If AEW were to fix their equitable diversity and inclusion issues, if they were to start getting serious about women's wrestling, they would absolutely, unequivocally be a serious promotion that could one day compete with the WWE. Unfortunately, because they have coveted a very niche audience that is so small, and it continues to shrink, by the way. Right? You're talking about a population that continues to shrink. It's not getting bigger. It's getting smaller in America. They've put themselves in a position where it's no wonder that they're not profitable. It's like, of course you're not profitable. Look at the fact that you do not have a program that you're trying to attract more than the niche. And Cody Rhodes have said it. We're just going to focus on our fans, and we know who our fans is, and we're going to cater to them. We don't want to attract casuals. We want our fans. Well, that's why you're not profitable, Cody Rhodes. So congratulations.
I don't know. That's a pretty sweet entrance, though, bro.
Well, listen, my favorite part about Cody is the fact that he doesn't know he's a heel. It's like somebody's got to break the news to him that the guy, people don't like this guy. They got to break the news to him. He's the heel. He was booed. Did you hear him booed? He was booed out of the building. This guy.
Come on. That was piped in sound, man.
Oh, yeah. It was piped in. That's right. Vince McMahon piped it in. He
piped it in from Connecticut. Don't start shit, dude. Over here starting shit.
Cody had a funny quote the other day where he said that there's no way he could turn heel because kids watch him and they need somebody to look up to. So It's just not. He'll never be heel again. And I'm sitting here laughing. I'm saying, buddy, I don't think you've ever been a babyface. You've been heel your entire life because you're a jerk. So,
Come on.
so it's like,
He's a great guy. He follows me on Twitter. Come on.
well, he should follow you on Twitter after the way they disrespected you a few years ago. So, he's probably following you on Twitter because he's afraid that you're going to lash out on him again. So, that's a whole other story there. And to Cody's credit, anytime I say something and I, directed at him, he'll respond. Cody doesn't run. He'll respond. It's just that he'll respond in a ridiculous manner, but, at least it's a response. So it's like, the communication is there. So kudos to Cody for that much.
I think for let's just be, come on. I'm going to try and be diplomatic here. And it's not like me to play devil's advocate because, I'm such a good guy. But, I think they're trying. I think they have some blind spots, but I think they're trying. Also, let's be real. I'm trying to get a paycheck, brother.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, come on now, Stix.
But I think, do they have?
You shouldn't have to try to be diverse, bro. You don't need to try to be diverse. Either are or you're not. There's no, you know what I mean? What effort is it to be diverse? Come on, man.
Yeah, I think it's a big nod to guys like CM Punk who say, yeah, here's a guy, Will Hobbs, who I think is a massive star, and this is the guy I want to work with. So let's put him in a spotlight and let him try to be, the star that he can be. Is it his fault where he's placed on the card or what show he's placed on? Absolutely not. I think that's above both of their pay grades. But I think you have to look at some of these guys that are coming in and saying, man, you got big stars. You've got, I keep going back to Red Velvet, but look at Jade Cargill, who is an absolute specimen of an athlete. I'm not talking about her appearance. I'm talking about how she moves, how she works, how she does what she does in the ring. I think when she gets a little more seasoned and a little more polished, that girl is going to be your world champion for a long time. And if she's not, there's your problem. You look at a girl like Jade Cargill and you don't think eventually at some point, a year from now, year and a half from now, she's not in the main event on a regular basis, you're out of your mind.
I want to go back to something you just said, though. Hold on a second, Stix. I can't let you off the hook on this.
No, go ahead.
You said CM Punk put over Will Hobbs.
I didn't say he put him over. I said I think he wants to work with him, which is I think why they put CM Punk in the spot they put him in against Team Taz and the whole deal.
Fair enough.
I think CM Punk sees a star in Will Hobbs, which is why he's so willing to let him almost put him through a table. By the way, Will, if you go to break a table and it doesn't break, pick him up and do it again. Let
me ask you a question, Stix. Let me ask you a question.
What?
Did you listen to CM Punk's first promo in AEW when he was in the ring?
Oh, you're talking about the one at the United Center?
The one at the United Center. Did you listen to that?
Yeah, of course I did.
How closely did you listen to it?
I mean, I'm going to be real with you and say I marked out a little bit because I'm a Chicago boy and, that's my hometown arena and there's CM Punk. So, a lot of me was just kind of hooked on the moment. But what did I miss?
Well, I'll tell you what you missed. And I'll tell you, this is prime AEW all over again. CM Punk named a bunch of wrestlers that he's interested in.
Okay.
And not a
I already know where you're going.
And not a single wrestler that CM Punk mentioned was a person of color. And it wasn't until after the fact where a bunch of us on Twitter had raised holy hell did suddenly CM Punk start mentioning wrestlers of color. So I don't give CM Punk any credit. I give him zero credit for this program with Will Hobbs because, in all honesty, I have no reason to believe that this program is happening organically. I think this program is happening because we said, wait a second, mother effer. How dare you not mention Will Hobbs and Ricky Starks and some of these other guys? How dare you not mention the Lucha Bros and Santana and Ortiz and some of these other guys? He didn't mention any of them until we called them out on it. So I'm just saying here, Stix, it may be a coincidence. It may be a slip of the tongue. It may be a slip of the mind. But this is what happens when the company consistently is doing these things. And at some point, it's not a coincidence anymore. This is just the way it is. So, I'm sorry, man. I couldn't let that go without addressing that because
I was trying to give CM Punk credit, and I think that Will Hobbs is a star. I legitimately think that.
Same here.
I think that
It's a shame they don't treat him that way.
I mean,
it's a shame they don't make him a star.
Give him a microphone once in a while.
Will Hobbs, I started getting on AEW about the fact that when you look at Will Hobbs' record as a singles wrestler in particular, you notice that there were very few AEW wrestlers that Will Hobbs actually defeated. AEW wrestlers who are listed as being part of the roster. And the few that were listed as being part of the roster, Serpentico, which I don't even think he's on the roster. He's not listed on the website anymore. He's being on the roster. So who knows if he's even still there. But
he is.
It was guys like that where these are guys that don't necessarily have winning records, and they weren't guys that accomplished anything in the company. Now, when you compare that to a guy like Wardlow or a guy like Darby Allin or a Jungle Boy or Orange Cassidy, and you notice that they've actually beaten people in singles matches who have winning records in AEW and who have been in the top 5 ranked consistently, then you start to realize you got this guy, Will Hobbs, and basically you just had him beating Lee Johnson most of the damn time. It's not like he actually beat anybody. So what do you say to that? You know what I mean? It's like you got this star, this stud, this guy that everyone says is a perfect gentleman, and he's a great guy behind the scenes and all this other good stuff. He's an adult. I mean, the guy's a father, and he's very dedicated to his family. I got a lot of time for Will Hobbs. So why is it that they've given him the weakest possible build that you can give a superstar that he could be like that?
I don't know.
And he's not gonna beat CM Punk. He's not gonna beat CM Punk.
Come on, man. Wrestling's real. What are you doing? No, you're right. I mean, it's a way to make CM Punk look strong and give Will Hobbs a little bit of a shine, but he needs a lot more.
What shine? What could it possibly do for Will Hobbs to lose to CM Punk right now? A guy who hasn't wrestled in 7 years. Okay.
So CM Punk by himself is a rub. You know what I mean? Like, there are certain guys, no matter how long they've been gone, no matter how long they've done whatever they've done, you stay in the ring with them, it's a rub.
If you lose a match to a guy who hasn't wrestled in 7 years, that's not a rub. That's a burial. You're losing to a guy who hasn't wrestled in 7 years. That's a burial, bro. That doesn't help. I don't think Darby Allin has been elevated on the card because he lost to CM Punk. It's actually the complete opposite. He's actually further back in the pecking order now because he lost to CM Punk. And the same thing is going to happen to Will Hobbs. There's no way Will Hobbs is going to be challenging for the AEW World title or even the TV title after this loss to CM Punk. He's going back of the line. And guys like Adam Cole and Daniel Bryan and CM Punk and Orange Cassidy, all these guys are way ahead of him.
Could you imagine a match between Miro and Will Hobbs?
I can imagine that match because it's going to be Miro going over Will Hobbs.
But but the match itself, I'm talking about the work. I'm not talking about who goes over. None of that. If you're in this business long enough, you know that who goes over is irrelevant. Who gets over is more important. And I think Miro is a smart enough wrestler, and I think that AEW is a platform where guys get to call their own stuff, and it's very less produced, much less produced as the other guys. I think Miro is smart enough to make the kid look good long enough to make him look good, but still win. You know what I mean? They want Miro to be
Let me ask you a question, Stix. Let me ask you a question. Can you name one wrestler in AEW who wasn't already over that had a program with Miro and now they're more over as a result of the program with Miro? Can you name one wrestler that happened to?
Fuego?
Are you kidding me right now?
Fuego? Like he's... So,
are you kidding me right now?
I'm not. Listen to me. Listen to me before you tear me apart with your ridiculous logic. Think about it. He had one match with Miro. He got destroyed. Right? He says, if I'm gonna wrestle him, and if I win, I should get a contract. Right? Loses anyway. We all knew he was gonna lose. Still ends up get that feel good moment. Sammy Guevara puts him over, gives him a deal, signs the deal, he cries, whole deal, right? So now he gets interviewed on Dynamite, which he wasn't before, right? He wasn't on Dynamite before. He was on the B shows before, correct? Now he gets an interview segment on Dynamite where he says, I'm going to put my car up. If I lose, he gets my car. Miro doesn't care about your car. Miro's married to Lana. He lives in a mansion. He made millions of dollars. He doesn't need your Honda Civic, brother. So that's why when he beat him, he shoved the keys back down his throat. But now you've got Fuego del Sol standing next to Sammy Guevara, who is a major star for AEW. So he's getting the rub from Sammy Guevara. He's gotten the rub from Miro just by being in the ring with him and, quote, holding his own. Do I think he's going to be slingshotted to a major role? No, but I think it put him on the map.
This is very embarrassing to hear you talk this way, because you contradict yourself. You have the right answer within all this word salad that you're giving us here, Stix. Sammy Guevara is helping Fuego become somebody, because Sammy Guevara is telling the world that Fuego is somebody. The fact that the guy lost the match and still got a contract is embarrassing, but it got over in its own very tiny way because Sammy Guevara was so excited, and that's my best friend. Sammy Guevara is the reason why Fuego is anything. Now, if you take Sammy Guevara out of that whole situation, it's just Miro beating up some little guy. And that little guy is not over for getting beaten up. I'm sorry. He's over because Sammy Guevara is his friend. So again, there's not a single person on that roster that Miro has elevated in any way, shape, or form after wrestling them. It has not happened. And the reason why it has not happened is because Miro doesn't elevate anyone but himself. So it's like, come on. You know what I mean? Let's be honest here. Let's be honest.
I could see that. I could see that point. Also, I wanted to bring this up because you talk about all these guys that come in. You talk about the Bryan Danielses. You talk about the Adam Coles, baby. You talk about all these guys, Christian. You talk about all these past stars somewhere else who are getting paid big money right now in AEW to just be stars and show up, right? But if you're Tony Khan, right, if you're building a company from the ground up and trying to put eyes on your product and trying to sell merchandise and trying to sell tickets and trying to make as much money as humanly possible, which we've had many conversations on this podcast where we both know that's what wrestling is really about. Why would you not sign these guys? Why would you not put these guys in spots to be stars? Because they're already stars. And they can
let's
help
talk
your
about that. Let's talk about that. I don't disagree with the fact that you should sign the best possible talent out there, especially talent that's already established in the marketplace, because they can bring whatever fan base that they've already cultivated, bring some of that over to you, and hopefully you can retain that fan base. So I agree. Here's the issue. It was AEW executive, including Tony Khan, saying that they weren't going to keep signing all of these former WWE people. So don't look at me and ask, why wouldn't he do it? He said he wouldn't do it. I'm just saying, how come you didn't keep your word?
Come on, bro. You know you've been in this situation where you're like, I'm not going to do that. But then like a week later, you're like, maybe I rushed to judgment.
But that's the whole AEW system. And that's my point, Stix. I'm glad you said that. They are liars. They do not know how to keep their word. They have no honor. There's no honor in the ownership and the leadership of AEW. And that's why they're not profitable. Because at the end of the day, you can only squeeze so many pennies from these lunatics who prefer anything. They prefer themselves over everything else. They don't want to see women. They don't want to see people of color. They don't want to see diversity. They don't want to see what everybody else clearly knows will sell the most. They want to see themselves, and that's it. You know what I mean? They are the complete opposite of you. They're not you.
I have been a long proponent of talent is talent, and my favorite color is green. I think Cowboy Bill Watts said that in regards to Junkyard Dog when he was getting heat from different NWA territories about putting him in the main event. Look, talent is talent. I've seen so much talent in my short time in the business, and I'm not claiming to be an expert, but one day I will be an expert because I'm going to be great at this. Mark my words. But I want to see people of the level of excitement for me when I saw Big E win the WWE Heavyweight Championship I was so happy for him. I don't know the guy, never met the guy, but to see him in a situation where they gave him the Money in the Bank contract, and to be honest with you, 100% full transparency here, when they gave him that contract, I was like, oh, he's going to lose. He's going to lose it. They're going to put him against Brock. They're going to put him against Roman, and they're going to crush him. But to see him win against another guy who is a stellar Hall of Famer, like bona fide, I was so happy for him. I was so happy for Kofi. Now I want to see Xavier get it because Xavier's just as talented as the other two gentlemen in his group. And to see WWE put that title on Kofi, on Big E, was incredible. And I hope against hope that man who is so strong and such a presence and such a personality gets a long, genuine title reign. Longer and better than Bianca Belair, which is a whole nother can of worms, man. But I agree with you. There needs to be, you need to find more time for your diverse talent. I said we were having a conversation the other day on Twitter, and I said, what happened to Sonny Kiss? Where's Sonny Kiss? You know, you put him in a tag team with Joey Janela, and now he's, I guess, feuding. I use the air quotes term loosely with Joey Janela, but like, where's Sonny Kiss? Nyla Rose has been a prominent, fixture on the show, but dare I say, more needs to happen with her, and dare I say she needs to wrestle some guys because she's eating up the women's division. You cannot tell me that a woman of her stature, and I'll say woman because I want to be pronoun appropriate, cannot wrestle guys like Adam Cole, cannot wrestle guys like Bryan Danielson and make it believable. She's bigger than 90% of the roster, men and women. Why not make her your next China? Why not make her, your Nia Jax? Even though Nia Jax, I feel like finally got a little bit of her own medicine there last Monday on Raw, but that's a whole nother story. But I agree with you. Diversity needs to happen. Hell, would I like to see a guy with some cerebral palsy on AEW TV? Sure, I would. I'm not going to name any names. Stix, aka the greatest, or even on WWE. There's been one guy in the entire history of the business, aside from Kerry Von Erich, who lost his foot, who had a major disability, and they showcased it, and that was Zach Allen, and he lost his spot because of his own ego. Does that mean the rest of us are not capable? You're out of your mind. Look at a guy named Gregory Irons. Go watch one of his matches. He has cerebral palsy too. The guy is in the ring on a regular basis and having damn good matches. So you can't tell me that people with disabilities and people of color and women cannot be showcased, shiny, profitable. That's, again, a big word in wrestling. Profitable stars for either company or any company. Ring of Honor, New Japan, you name it. Impact.
Well, I agree with you 100%, Stix, and I appreciate you laying it out there that way because you're absolutely right, and that's our point. You know what I mean? It's if you have a voice, use it to elevate the cause of those whose voice may not be as loud as yours. And let me tell you something: I don't care who's uncomfortable about me bringing this stuff up on a daily basis. It's the right thing to do, and every wrestling promotion, especially WWE and especially AEW, they have to do the right thing. And I'm not going to stop pointing that out. And let me tell you something. I've been threatened. I've had people cuss me. I've had people dox me, the whole 9 yards, just the whole 9 yards. I've had Tony Khan in my inbox giving me his sassy attitude, which, is laughable to me. So these are things that happen as a result of standing up and sticking up for others. And that's okay. I don't mind because at the end of the day, it's the right thing to do. What's that?
I agree with you. And let me just sidebar, bro. You know who I know. And I'll just say this. Anybody that threatens you, you make a list and I'll send some of my cousins over there. You know what I'm saying? But all that to be said, I feel like in a world where people are so afraid to say things out loud because they're so afraid of how it's A, going to make them look, which is really why people don't say things, and B, how it's going to make other people feel, which really in the long run doesn't matter because people don't think about each other nearly as much as we should. If you don't say things that make people uncomfortable or make people think, you're wasting your time. I've always been a huge advocate for people of, I guess, classified as minorities, because I am one. When you live a life where you've been beat up and spit on and told you you weren't going to be anything but a spot on the couch and you should just mind your business and your dreams are stupid, and you've been pushed out of your wheelchair and you know, trash can dumped over your head or whatever, you learn to be either meek and quiet or loud and big. And you know me pretty well, brother. I'm loud and big, and I don't care what anybody thinks about it. And I think what you try to do on a regular basis, I think is a great thing. And I think the conversations that you and I have, a lot of times that people don't get to hear, are good conversations to be had out loud, you know? And whatever people take away from this particular episode, please understand that I am not bashing either company. I do think that both companies have room for change and room for improvement. I think that, you know, I'd like to be part of that change, if I'm honest. If I'm 100, let's be real. You know, I'm in this business to be a star and make money, but I'm also in this business to institute change. Like I told myself when I was 10 years old that I could be a part of that business. I could make a mark in that business. And here I am, 35 years old, 3 years in, 1,000 matches called, and I'm trying. I'm trying really, really hard. And if you want to make change in this world, or you think there should be change in this world, you can't just sit back and wait for somebody else to do it. That's not how this works. That's not where success comes from. That's not where change comes from. Change is not about patience. Change is about being uncomfortable and getting in people's faces and saying, no, I'm quality. I deserve to be here. And here's why I deserve to be here. And let the noise be the noise. I tell you this all the time, man. Anything other than, man, keep pushing is static. Anything other than, you know, keep doing what you're doing is static, unless it's constructive. Unless you can tell somebody how to be better, you're wasting your breath and you're just being negative. And I think far too many wrestling fans find a reason to complain before they find a reason to clap. And I think that this is a time for wrestling. It's such an amazing time. There's wrestling everywhere. There's wrestling everywhere. Indie wrestling is on another level right now. And if you haven't been to an indie wrestling show lately, damn, man, find $10 and buy a damn ticket wherever you live, because indie wrestling right now is on another level, because everything else in wrestling is rising. Rising tides raise all boats. And that's where we're at. But there was still a long way to go. And I think that's why we're having this conversation today. And I hate you, but I love you.
Well, I couldn't have said it any better than you just did there, Stix. Why don't you let everybody know? I'm telling you, you clearly are. You clearly are. Just ask the lovely young ladies who keep bringing you bacon. Why don't you let everybody know the best way to keep up with you and what you have going on over there, especially any upcoming appearances that you have?
Well, we Professor and I got a couple of shows coming up in October, mostly in Georgia. We're going to be working viral pro wrestling in the first weekend of October. And then the 19th, I believe, is the date for the next Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment showcase. So we'll be in Georgia mostly in October. But I do want to say out loud for anybody that's hearing this, along with commentary, I think I'm a pretty good manager. I don't know, Duke. What do you think? 2 cents.
I think you are a heat magnet. So absolutely, you're a great manager, and you're somebody that will get the crowd stirred up for sure.
So I really want to try to do more managing on the side as well as doing commentary, just because I miss it and I haven't really been doing much of it. So if you are a talent in the Southeast or anywhere really, and the opportunity arises and you think Stix, aka the world's most famous Plaything, can add value to you and your career, believe me, I can. Reach out to me, StixMan92 on Twitter, Instagram. Facebook, of course, Ken Stix Ray or Stix, the world's most famous plaything. I've got 2 pages on Facebook, and I've got Instagram and Twitter as both StixMan92. And of course, buy the merch on tpublic.com/StixFix. Get your t-shirts. They're on sale today, right now, 38% off. I just want to throw that in there. Cheap plug. But Duke, before I go, you know I got to do my thing. So let me do it real quick. Coming at you live, large and in charge, through the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast. They call me Stix, the world's most famous plaything. Thanks for listening.
Mr. Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Rasslin.